Well, I am just delighted to be able to share with you some things that I believe will help make your board more effective. One of the things that we've been doing for a few years now is new board member orientation. We believe that that's critically important for the life of the church, to have a board that is consistent and doesn't have ups and downs from year to year depending on who's on the board. So board orientation becomes a valuable piece of that journey. In order to do that, we recommend that you move your election process earlier in the year than you're probably doing it now. You're probably doing it now in May. We suggest maybe as early as February or March, certainly no later than April. And what that does is it allows you to identify the board members for the next year and gives you time to bring them, quote, up to speed before the new fiscal year starts June 1. Incoming board members tend to operate with whatever their background is. Maybe they served on a board of a nonprofit or the local school board or your church board or another church board, and everybody sort of comes with their own idea of what the board should be. This orientation process helps put everybody on the same page to help them operate with the same approach to what it means to be a board of a local church. We want to see new board members come on the board June 1, fully prepared, fully equipped, and ready to run. If you don't do a board orientation, what often happens is board members come on and just sort of observe the process until September, October, November, December, and they're not really valuable contributing members to the board during that time. We want to prepare them to be effective board members right out of the gate. In order to do that, we recommend a board orientation event and process. In order to do that, there are some materials that you need to get to the new board members ahead of time. I'll give you a list of those in just a moment. For this event, we encourage you to take the new board members and 2 members of the current board who will be on the board the next year and have them all meet together to go through this orientation process. In preparation for that, here's a list of things that we would encourage you to give to the new board members coming on and give them time to read these materials prior to the day you have the event of orientation. We encourage you to get them copies of the book, Pursuing God's Will Together by Ruth Haley Barton. We encourage you to get the book, Winning on Purpose by John Edmund Kaiser. Those are resources that will help guide them in how we want the board to function. We believe the board should be a spiritually discerning body who gives spiritual leadership to the ministry of the church and not just administrative leadership. In addition to those books, here's a list of some other materials that we believe would be helpful to those new board members. Copies of the church mission, vision, and core values. A document that we call the Church Guiding Principles. You will find that document explained in the book, Winning on Purpose. If you don't know what that is, I'd encourage you to look at that book and really get a picture of what guiding principles mean. Send them a copy of a sample board agenda so that they can see kind of how the meeting works. We send minutes for the entire previous year out to the new board members so they can see what the board's been dealing with over the past year. And then send them a sample financial report. And then have someone who really understands that report teach them how to read it, how to understand it, so that they can get a good picture of that. If there are any other routine documents that the board reviews, if you have a building and grounds team or a missions committee or other things that the board routinely reviews, those minutes or those reports at a board meeting, send them copies of that so they can be prepared and understand what they're going to see at each board meeting. We have created an annual board calendar. What things does the board need to do throughout the year, and what season of time does it need to be done in? When do you start the election process of identifying new board members? When do you review the guiding principles? When do you do a senior pastor review, etc.? And lay out the board calendar for a whole year. If the new board members have all that material before the event of board orientation, it will make that event much more meaningful and productive. At the meeting, you should take each one of those documents and review it. Go over it. Make sure that people understand. Give room for new board members to ask questions. Give room for current board members to jump into the discussion, to point out things, observations of what it's been like over the last year to serve in this ministry. Another thing that is critically important for board members is to stress the importance of confidentiality. It's very important that new board members understand they can't share stuff with their spouse, with their kids, with their friends. There's certain things that just need to be kept at the board level, and it's very important. If that confidentiality gets broken, it breaks trust in the board. So that's another thing that we stress at a board orientation time. We would encourage you to explain in detail the governance model. And if you don't currently have a governance model or don't know what I mean by that, there are two things you can do. Read the book, Winning on Purpose. Read the book, Pursuing God's Will Together, and it will give you a picture of that. And if you would ever want to talk about that, my name and contact information is on the GLR website, and I would be glad to visit with you and point you in the right direction for that governance model. As a part of the orientation, we want to make sure that new board members understand the roles and relationships between the board, the lead pastor, the staff, and the congregation. It's very important that everybody on the board is on the same page with that. And so this is a place where you can bring new board members up to speed of what that looks like and how it functions. That also is described in the book, Winning on Purpose. In the course of this event, we want to just have current board members who've been there for a year or two on the board be able to speak into the process. We want the new board members to be able to ask any questions that they want to ask so that they can be up to speed on day one. Once the event is done, then we would ask the new board members to attend the May board meeting as guests so they can see and observe what that function looks like, how it operates in an actual board meeting, and give them room to ask questions at that meeting and be participants, even though they won't be able to vote on anything if there are things to vote on. It's really helpful to them to see the board in action. If you're not currently doing a new board member orientation, I want to just encourage you to seriously consider doing that. I think you'll find it'll make your board better. It'll make new board members more confident. I remember the first time I did one of these orientations for a board at a church, and the old board members said, "Wow, I wish we would have had something like this. We spent the first year trying to figure out what we were doing, and we don't want that to happen." So if you're not doing that, I really want to encourage you to take time to do a new board member orientation. Thanks for taking a look at this. If we can be of any help, feel free to get in touch with us.